think it's going. Um, all right. So I just wanted to remind us that we have, the safety tab, and that we have an X card. So by all means, if something comes up, feel free to bring up the X card in whatever way you feel comfortable. Also, I would definitely want to make sure that I honor what we have here under lines and veils. So I'll do my best to check in if there's a moment that I feel particularly that lands on these ideas of ostracism, negative social attention, or bullying. But by all means, we can definitely use like a pause, rewind, redo. No problem there. That's kind of like I always feel like that's like a lesser, more easier X card to reach for. Just a pause to check in. Anybody can bring that up. So last time we reviewed what we had created the first session and kind of went back over that in detail and really figured out what it was that our cast of magical girls were up to as far as their obligations are concerned in the mundane world. We really fleshed that out and got a good feel for who they are as individuals and the secondary characters in their lives. And then we had an opportunity at the end to kind of quickly go over the opening sequence to our Magical Girl anime TV series. So to begin play, we start off in the obligation phase. So generally, this seems pretty consistent across multiple Forge in the Dark games. There are various phases of play. For Girl by Moonlight, we start in obligation, and then we go into downtime, and then mission, and then a brief fallout phase. So I'll read here to get us started what the book has to say about the obligation phase for our particular playset. In the obligation phase, we see the protagonists struggling with their shared obligation. Whatever the players choose, this obligation dominates their lives and takes up most of their time, even if we do not see every moment of it in play. The group's answers to what is held to be sacred and what is considered profane also inform this phase. People who hold power in the day-to-day lives of the protagonists will try, whether deliberately or thoughtlessly, to enforce these societal norms. So with the obligation phase, we sort of go around one by one and see what each individual character is up to, how they are engaging with the society and their obligations. Your lowest attribute among sun, moon, and stars sort of determines the overarching narrative of that particular scene for your character, and the pressures that the obligation puts on you. At some point during the scene, we'll have you make an obligation roll, and we'll see how much your obligation is stressing you out. And you'll acquire stress based on the roll. Is that as clear as mud so far? Excellent. Would anybody like to start off? All right. Let's go with our unlikely hero.
Oh, of course, the pro tag.
All right, Clarice, what is Sarah up to at the moment? And if we want, we can kind of back off and set maybe the general stage, if that would help.
Yeah, what is the kind of general stage? Just a little bit here. That'll help me, I guess, kind of figure out how
Yeah.
this is all working.
So I think the parade is coming to a stop. It's dusk. The city is lit up. We see above us in the sky the drones, the stream of drones, and their projections of hollow light, almost looking like a ribbon of the northern lights here across the sky. There is a sort of carnival feel to the area that the pageant is ending up in this area of the city. And I think it would probably be a good idea to take a moment and go around and sort of paint the scene as to what we're seeing in this part of the city and this particular stopping point of the pageant. I think it's one of the major houses certainly runs it, but they are pushed at the moment to the brink of finances. So, what do we see that calls that to mind?
Hmm. Well, since we're pushed to the brink of finances and everything, I would assume that what we're kind of seeing at the moment is kind of everybody kind of scrounging around like, okay, what with what we have, how can we put things together in a way that's still going to maintain the quality that we expect of it, while also not trying to go past our budget because it's we've already stretched that thin. So there might be some creative movement of materials, maybe salvaging something from part of the parade float. Who knows? Especially if we're stopped here, I could imagine that at the moment some we need some tables possibly for food, and they're like, oh, well, the float's just the right amount of height that it could act like a table for a moment.
Yeah,
Somehow, some houses go to the trouble of building new venues for specific
Mhm.
festivals. That is not what's happened here. In fact, it looks like the venue for the festival at the end of the parade is sort of a recombination and reworking of previous year's themes. You know, if you look closely, you can remember where this particular bit of decoration was a couple of years ago.
Shh, we didn't take it out of the storage unit. It's totally not from the storage unit at all.
Maybe in order to get what little money there is, there's like sponsorships on everything. So it's like this. It has this kind of like tacky sellout kind of feel to it, where like everything is brought to you by a casino or by a weapons manufacturer or something like that.
do you have any thoughts you'd like to contribute for me?
No, right now I'm kind of just taking everything it's like in right now.
Sure. All right. So, Sarah Marie is certainly here, along with everybody else in some fashion or another, probably accompanying Regalia, perhaps.
Begrudgingly, but probably.
All right.
I would say, given that kind of detailing, I'm assuming my obligation is kind of at the moment. I'm Regalia is like, we cannot be outdone in the sense of trying to get these preparations going, and everybody else is being resourceful here. Get to it. Find whatever like materials we have from our stuff to actually make this venue here. I want it to actually stand out here. Um, in that thing of like, okay, you're going to do all the heavy lifting, and I'm just going to sit here and enjoy whatever comes from that work. And if it's not to her liking, yeah, it's probably going to be a problem for me, but that's okay.
I think we see her disappear for a while, expecting you to, toe the line, and you work for quite a while, toiling away, and eventually there is like a sudden flurry of activity. Drones fly around, cameras, and she's quickly returned. Like after a while, she's returning with an entourage of like press and camera drones. And she says, "Oh, there you are. I've been looking everywhere for you."
I I was over here just getting everything that prepared, like you said. I haven't moved that far.
And she steps close to you, like uncomfortably close to you, I think.
Of course.
And she says, "Oh, you silly. No, no, no. We have people to do this for us. She says, Sarah Marie here, and she looks to the cameras, is always trying to go out of her way to make sure that everything is done just so. It's going to take a while to make sure that she can really serve, be part of the house, and step up. She no longer has to toil like she used to. The cameras, I think, come in close.
And at this, definitely, Sarah Marie is just like, okay, very much realizing that, oh, this is where I gotta put on the show. And so she begrudgingly holding back all wants to like just rail on her in front of the cameras, but instead she puts on the biggest smile and everything, and it's like and yeah, I thanks to Miss Regalia's tutelage and taking me in and everything, I've been so much more happier, and I I just don't know what to do with myself. I being so well cared after, and not taking care of everything myself, like in the orphanage. So it's different.
And Sarah, or sorry, not Sarah, Regalia turns to you and she says, tell them about all of your great studies and how you're coming along. I'm so proud of you.
And just the thing of just the little catch in her throat and everything, and the like hitch in her back of her mind of like, oh gosh, this is gonna be a lot longer than I was hoping. And with that, she's like, well, I've really kind of come into my own at school and everything with my studies, and kind of feel like I'm now kind of getting into kind of the rhythm of like where I could kind of move forward in my future. And oh yeah, I'm doing a whole lot of really amazingly fun kind of extracurriculars outside of school.
I think she cuts you off at some point, like clearly not paying attention. She kneels down and leans in really close, and you can smell that she smells like a florist shop where it's like that really rich aroma of flower scents, but it's like a slight chill with like a chemical preservative just on the edge of it.
Mhm.
And she puts her cheek out and she says, good girl, give me a kiss.
Oh. And very begrudgingly, she just gives a little kiss to her cheek and everything. It's like, you're surely the best mother.
She smiles, just with her mouth, not with her eyes, and she grips your shoulder. Like, to anybody else that's looking around, like it's clearly like affectionate, but then you can feel just the tips of her nails dig into.
Oh gosh.
Okay, so your lowest attribute, stars.
Yeah.
Stars corresponds to puts you under social pressure or sets off your anxiety. I think that sounds about right.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So when you perform your obligation, roll your lowest attribute. So in this case, since you have 0, you're going to roll 2d6 and we're going to take the lowest.
Okay, 2d6. Well, that was 2 1s back to back. So not hard to go for the lowest there.
Excellent. You're by all means, you're welcome to roll there in person if you would like. That's no problem with me. But if you would like to roll online, we do have a dice.
Oh, wait, where do we have this?
It's a link in the email I sent.
Oh, was that? Oh, I didn't even notice that.
It's totally fine.
Oh, okay, that's useful.
Just so that it's sometimes enjoyable to see everybody gets the result at once, especially for super stressful, high tense rolls. All right, so you got a 1. So the amount of stress you take is 6 minus that value, so you'll take 5 stress.
Oh, ouch.
So on your playbook,
Yeah.
you should
So 1, 2, 3. Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's not so great.
Off to a great start here.
All right. Who's up next?
I can go.
Okay.
So I'm sort of acting as a choreography director. I am trying to drill the sort of the portion of the this the small cadre of marching parade goers that are sort of on tour at the moment. Um, Today wasn't good. Everybody seemed distracted, and I don't know why. Like nobody dropped anything, but everybody was just sort of off tempo from each other a little bit, and it didn't look good. And I'm just sort of trying to relentlessly drill the choreography that we did in the parade, and also try to tease out what is going on, because it sounds like one or more people's heads are not in the game.
Okay, yeah. So it sounds like you like once the pageant has come to a stop, you've pulled off these individuals and drilled them off to the side, perhaps out of sight, or just somewhere to the edge.
Um, probably out of sight. If people are sort of milling around at the end of the presentation, then I've just sort of like grabbed a courtyard and said, okay, we've let's run through that again, let's run through that again because I know you. Let's run through that again because I think I've got some notes for you all.
Excellent. So the thing has been going for a while, and they're certainly all like bedraggled. They're exhausted. They're tired. They haven't had a chance to refuel yet, to go back to the floats and get some food. So that they're sweating. Like their clothes are disheveled. They look a mess. And one of them says, "Can we please stop? I don't. Even if we tried right now, I don't think it would look very good."
Let's see. Are we going to? Okay. Everyone's going to get a chance to rest soon. I just want to understand. I just want to understand why you girls weren't all why you girls were all over the place this afternoon. This isn't like you. This isn't like us. We usually hit our marks and everything's solid.
You see that they get uncomfortable and nobody seems to want to make eye contact with you. And a few of them step away from one of the older girls, probably, I don't know, we'll say mid-20s.
Mm-hmm.
There, she's kind of off by herself, trying to catch her breath. She too isn't trying to make eye contact.
What do we have a name for her?
Oh, we can give her a name. I'm looking at the names that are suggested, but they seem quite prominent for just a dancer girl. Call her Hydra.
Oh my gosh. Rebecca.
Rebecca. Okay. It's Rebecca.
Okay. So I wave some of the younger girls to all right, go take 5. Go take 15, get a drink, get food. I'm not done with you yet. And then I come close to Rebecca and just sort of try and take stock in where she is right now.
So the other girls like quickly skedaddle, like almost too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And Rebecca is like, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Frida. What is it? What is it you said? I'm just I'm just not here right now.
Is there anything you want to anything you want to let me know about?
It's clear she's nervous, and
Mhm.
she sits up straight, quickly puts on airs. Like I'm sorry. I'll try better next time. I don't want to disappoint you.
I know you're one of our you're one of our solid dancers. If there's anything that's getting in the way of you doing your best for the house, I'm here to take care of it.
I don't want to. She sits down heavily. You have a brother, right? Um, mine was supposed to meet me here, and none of my messages. He hasn't checked in. I don't know where he is, and he didn't check in yesterday. He didn't check in the day before, but he's supposed to be here. And I'm just, you can see her eyes are watering up.
And I try I try to empathize. I try to empathize with her in that, you know, if this were my brother just sort of vanished, I would be tearing planks off the walls. Um,
And yet she's here, right?
yeah. Um, I try and fish out more information about like where he was supposed to be and like
Okay.
where he might be. Just try and get a sense from her to sort of talk through the problem.
I think she goes on a little bit of a spiel, and some of it makes sense, some of it doesn't. She's distraught and she's having a hard time getting her story in order.
Mm-hmm.
But he was supposed to be here. She lost contact with him, and she hasn't been able to reach him. None of the her immediate family here in the house, have been able to reach him or know his whereabouts either. And he's been melancholy for a long time, and she's concerned. And I think after that, she realizes how much she's expressed, and like there's a switch that happens,
Mm-hmm.
and she closes up and she says, as if she to say I'm sorry, but she says, I'm out of line. This is not the patterns expect something else. And then she sort of, with your permission, I'll go and I'll join the others, and then get something to eat and be back.
All right. Um, um, I think what I do is I shake my head a little bit and I say it's a, I say it's nothing. It's nothing. You just need a it's sort of a trying to deny her, you know, I'm out of line. Like if she needs me to pretend I didn't hear it, that's one thing. If she just needs reassurance that I'm not going to like get her in trouble for this. Um um I tell her, go enjoy yourself this evening. Go get some food, get some rest. You're exhausted. And I'm sure he'll turn up.
All right, let's make that roll. It looks like Moon for you.
Okay.
And Moon is breaks your heart and drives you to despair. So
I don't know if we're gonna find him. This could be serious. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Like maybe this is innocuous, or maybe somebody's yanked him sideways in the house, or maybe this is abyss stuff. 2d6. Take the lower. That's a 1.
Okay.
So 5 stress.
Yes.
I'm kind of. I did not say I was going to be taking this problem on myself, but I kind of have.
Nice. I'll just write that down. This is Frida's problem now. All right. Who do we see next? Vega or Elhenna? Or maybe I should say Violet or Adele.
I can go next.
Okay.
Let's see. So basically, Adelpha has the very unenviable position of essentially being in the role of a manager, so to speak. The one that basically is in charge of making sure things get done, but it's not the one that gets to decide what gets done, so to say. It's like it's like the first one to, it's like the one that has to, it's like say what has to be done, and the first one that gets all the problems and consequences of it. So basically, it's like in line with, it's like par for the course with, it's like them being expected to, it's like potentially become the next, it's like head for, it's like their house and everything. They are basically the one that it's like gets told what has to be done, and it's like delegates, it's like the various responsibilities to, it's like who, it's like the people that are hopefully capable enough to, it's like help see that done and everything. It's like, as well as basically being the face of, it's like their house for, it's like, or at least one of them for these events and everything, and making sure their house looks good, which also includes making sure that the responsibilities that need to be done are done properly. If not, basically it's like above expectations, ideally, but you know, it's like either way, underpaid management basically. So it's like, I imagine probably it's like part of what it's like their day-to-day often looks like is basically, it's like, especially in regards to the pageant and everything, is that they are often constantly swarmed by basically people, is like giving reports and everything, progress reports, or bring up like, it's like, oh, it's like, how do we handle, it's like this, it's like so-and-so problem came up, how do we handle it? Like the fountains basically, it's like turned into a geyser, how do we fix it? And it's like wondering why, who turned the fountain into a geyser? Why? I guess, well, it's like, I guess we'll have to figure that out and everything. And it's like all the fun that comes with dealing with handling all of that.
So it sounds like, you know, the pageant comes to a stop here, you know, flashing back a little bit, and we see, you know, Adele step down, and then immediately this, like, you know, the line starts and it follows you all the way to the tent, you know, like the management tent, where you have a little desk to the side, and it's noisy in here. There's other people trying to take care of things too. But certainly your line is the longest. So much has been placed on your shoulders. And this goes on and on and on. Other people are out there enjoying themselves, taking part in the festivities. You know, the part of society where you're allowed to pretend to enjoy yourself, like this is it. This is the pageant, and yet here you are, just taking care of things. So this line goes through continuously, person by person. The night drags on. At what point does Oda show up?
Oda tends to, it's like show up towards when it's like most of the responsibilities for at least that day have, it's like mostly been delegated or reported, or it's like seen through. It's like, and essentially recorded properly and everything. She, it's like tends to, it's like show up, it's like throughout the, it's like here and there throughout the day, throughout the hours and everything. It's like to see how things are going, and it's like, and everything, but ultimately most of this has to be taken care of by, it's like Adele, namely because it's like this is, it's like basically part of their upbringing.
Yeah, so I think based on that, we see, you know, throughout the night, Oda just sort of comes into the tent, lingers in the background, clearly up to her own business, but you know her. She's here watching you, studying you, making sure you fit the part that your family expects of you, that you're saying the right things, doing the right things. And when the last person in the line, comes through and you've dealt with whatever problems they've had, Oda sort of just shows up behind you, like out of the shadows. She says, "How are you feeling, Adele?"
And Adele, it's like kind of just, it's like straightens. It's like takes a deep, if very, it's like if, it's like subtle, sort of, it's like breath. It's like as though trying to, it's like measure themselves. It's like try not to, it's like slip up. It's like before, it's like finally in a very, it's like, it's like tempered. It's like if rehearsed kind of response. It's like replies as lovely as this evening has been going. It's like hope you've been, it's like doing well, ma'am.
She says, "Yes, I've been doing very well. But you look so tired, so very tired. Are you sure you feel as lovely as you say?"
And it's like another pause, and it's like another brief moment to try to, it's like catch it. It's like trying to sneak another, it's like a breath, as though like if it's like almost as though they were caught so much as breathing wrong. It's like they might get, it's like punished for it in some way. Before they go, it's like, of course, forgive me. It's like I must have forgotten to compose myself.
"Yes, one must not forget. And that breathing, you'll have to be more careful to hide it next time. Every little tell, so many houses are positioned just so. We don't want anyone thinking yours is weak."
Of course, ma'am. I will be sure to keep that in mind.
And she goes to leave, and then she stops. Nobody else here is in the tent at this point. Everybody's gone. And she turns and she says, "I expect more from you, Adele." And then she leaves. So you are equal in sun, moon, and stars. So you get a pick. Which one sounds like was resonates the most with you based on what we saw? For sun, it's scary people or circumstances, or it's physically taxing. For moon, it breaks your heart and drives you to despair. Or stars is puts you under social pressure or sets off your anxiety.
I feel like in this case, it's kind of a little bit of all three, but I think it's like probably just for, it's like the sake of Oda being very intimidating and everything. Well, it's like we will put this under sun.
Okay, yeah. So you have a 1, so you can roll just 1d6.
Oh, that's a 6.
Nice. All right. So you do not take any stress. Excellent. You handled yourself well. Just out of curiosity, that 6, like after Oda leaves, how is Adele feeling? Like this went pretty well?
It's all things considering the fact that they were, it's like, it's probably the, it's like thought that all things considering they were able to at least, things weren't so on fire enough that like they were at least able to get through the entire line and list of, it's like responsibilities today at least and everything. And they didn't get themselves punished, so to speak, for it, aside from perhaps a light scolding for, it's like, and everything. And it's like it's like, and for a moment they kind of contemplate, perhaps just kind of like almost it's like leaning forward against her it's like desk to kind of catch themselves, but it's like all things considering, it's like physically they feel a little too taut right now to really recompose themselves, so to speak. And it's like, and for the moment they kind of just it's like remain there on the spot, kind of just at least taking the mild relief that at least all things considering this day didn't go as bad as it could have been.
Nice. All right. Where do we see Violet?
So, is the parade sort of imminent in the next few days, or is it within a span of hours? Like, how close are we to it?
Oh, now that the pageant has come to this stopping point, how quick is the turnover?
Oh, yeah, pageant. Yeah, my mistake. Hey, the reason I bring it up is because I want to know kind of if the torch is coming near soon. Just because I'm the torch maiden and I have a lot to do with that.
Oh, I see. I kind of suspected that the torch sort of always led the pageant slash parade.
Okay. So, in that case, maybe I've already had some contact with it and have already been near it. Does that sound fair?
Sure. So, if I'm hearing what you're saying, you're here in this stopping point, and something has happened to the torch. Maybe it's being repaired or like zhuzhed up or something, and so it's coming to you now for the next leg of the journey.
That's fine with me. If I need to be doing something, I can be um in a tent, sort of in the festival. Do we have the festival up and running at this point?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I can be in a tent that's set aside for our staff, and I am refolding my ceremonial dress. I imagine that the Torch Maiden has some kind of very traditional pseudo-Japanese garb that they're supposed to wear, kind of like a hakama or something a shrine maiden might wear. I can post pictures if people want references. But I've got maybe a skirt that requires a very specific folding pattern on it. And I've got it kind of up on this table. I'm trying to very precisely fold it. If there's any kind of seam that needs to be mended, I have like a needle and thread to the side. And I'm really trying to attend to this skirt maybe whenever, some NPC shows up or something like that.
Okay. I think there are a series of attendants that do show up, and they're here to help in whatever way they can, but they leave you to the folding. They're here taking care of like the periphery chores,
Mm-hmm.
uh, leaving you to it. But among their number, or shortly after, you hear a familiar voice. It's Rose. She says, "Knock, knock. Can I come in?"
Rose, hey! How has the festival been treating you so far?
She looks at all of the attendants, and she looks at the tent that was constructed by the house here that's hosting,
Mm-hmm.
and she sort of does a walk around the perimeter and lets her fingertips drag along the side of the tent, looks up at it, examining it. And she comes back over to you and stands next to you and looks down at the folds, and she says, "It's just so disappointing what the houses here are doing. It just, I don't know why they just don't let us. We could handle this so much better. We have all the finances, our house. It's really disappointing. It's shameful, really, and they don't deserve shame, right?"
Well, I mean, does anyone, when you really think about it? I mean, we're all just trying our best to get through it. You doing okay over there?
No, yeah, no, I'm fine. That's what's expected of us. Is fine.
I kind of stop halfway through inserting the needle into the cloth, and I just kind of eye her for a moment. What's bothering you?
She leans forward. She says, "No, no, no, no. I came by to help you, Violet. Let me help you. What is it you need?"
I mean, you can help me fold this Hakama. I need to have that ready in a couple hours.
Her eyes light up. Like this is clearly a treat, somebody being able to touch the ceremonial garbs. And so she does very, very carefully. And she goes about helping you. I've I've noticed a difference in you. At least I think I have. I mean, I'm your sister. You can share with me.
Difference? What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, just between us, I've noticed the way that, you look at Gabriel and that's changed.
There's like a big anime blush effect that pops up. Yeah, we're not we're not um
Oh,
we're not a good fit, okay? Don't even worry about it. It's I've thought about it. We're incompatible.
she like presses the seam into the fold and like draws it out. And she says, "Yes, not a good fit. I understand. There's so many pressures with what's expected of us. I mean, what's expected of everybody? That's, we all have to abide by the pattern. We fit within the hierarchy. And besides, she like leans forward to like press her, push, gently place her hand on yours, like look you in the eyes, say, Gabriel, he's just not in an adjacent house. Like it wouldn't have worked out anyway. It's probably for the best."
Um, Rose, I don't mean to push, but I'll ask one more time. You sure you're doing okay?
She straightens up, uh, straightens her clothes. She says, "No, no, I'm fine, absolutely fine. I best get to it. There are other things our family must attend to here at the ceremony, and you're busy with this, so I'll go take care of those. If you need anything, just call me. I'll be right here."
Okay, well, good seeing you. Bye bye now. And when if she takes her exit here, I'll look down and see that I've completely just been sowing nonsense zigzags the entire conversation, and then there's it cuts to like the chibi cartoon version of my character going and like flapping their arms really quick, and then I grab a seam ripper and just start going ham on it, trying to undo everything.
So it sounds like in order to fix this, it's going to take you many, many more hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you also have one in each of your attributes. What does this sound like to you?
In terms of what I should be rolling?
Yeah. So we have sun, moon, and stars. Sun is scary people or circumstances or is physically taxing. Moon is breaks your heart and drives you to despair. Or stars put you under social pressure or sets off your anxiety. This one seemed a little lighter, but clearly something seems to be up. I'm not sure how Violet.
Stars probably. It's not like a direct physical threat, so I'm not thinking sun as much. Moon doesn't make sense to me.
Sure.
Stars, of course. So what do I roll here?
Yep. So your stars is set at a 1. So you just roll 1d6.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
can kind of see it being like perhaps it's like some small bit of like it's like underlying anxiety, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I got a 5.
Nice. All right. So 6 minus 5, you take 1 stress. Not bad. That was pretty light as well. So just I guess another follow-up question, just like with Adele, who rolled really well. Oops, didn't mean to press that. How is Violet feeling after this weird interaction with her sister?
I want to spy on her now and see what the heck she's doing. I mean, maybe is this out of character for her? Like, is she always this suspicious? I'm just trying to think about how to put this in perspective.
Yeah, I think, there are pressures that come with being one of the members of the major house. And she's always been a busybody. And it seems like this is like that. But I think there is a weird edge to it. She certainly has never asked about Gabriel before.
Okay, I might also want to call a scene with Gabriel in the future and talk to him.
Okay. All right, so that was the obligation phase. I think I'd like to just quickly check in and see how that felt, if anything was maybe too rough for anybody. Cool. Okay. Yes, exactly. I like what Clarice said regarding who's falling apart and who's not. So I think what we'll do is we'll talk really quick about what the downtime phase looks like, which is the next phase. And then once we go through that and answer any questions, we'll take a break and then jump into it when we come back. So the downtime phase is an opportunity to see the protagonists and what they're up to, sort of what they want to be up to when they're being a little more proactive about things. So I'll just read through this again, sort of like I did with the obligation phase, just to help put us into perspective. So downtime in this series happens after school, on weekends, or late at night when no one else is around. It is an opportunity for the protagonists to relax and connect with one another, outside the bounds of their day-to-day routines and obligations. In moments where the protagonists are alone together, they can find temporary reprieve from the suffocating pressures of the world. This part of play presents counterpoints to the punishing norms of the mundane world. Consider the group's answers to how do we transgress against that which is sacred, and how do we represent that which is profane, as these questions show us how the protagonists define themselves on their own terms. So on the clocks and rules tab, I'm going to close the obligation roles. So we're kind of done with that. I'm going to open the downtime role and downtime actions. So everybody gets 2 downtime actions, and I believe Sarah gets 3 at the moment. So the options available to you are to make a connection, help a friend recover, work on a long-term project, and investigation. So nobody's currently injured. Nobody has any harm. So there's really no need to help a friend recover yet. So really we're looking at make a connection, work on a long-term project, and investigation. Make a connection is great. That gives you links with other protagonists, and you can spend those links to kind of empower yourself and each other, especially in times of stress. So make a connection is a great thing to do, sort of as a baseline, always a great default. Work on a long-term project is something that you have in mind that will probably take a while to accomplish. A great example is to work on the hideout and opening up another room. At this early stage in the game, that sort of long-term project would probably be a 4 o'clock, which would mean it's probably take about 2 downtime actions in total to accomplish that on average. And then the investigation, which is you go about investigating leads or looking into the activities of the Abyss and the Harbingers to try to figure out what's going on and get a sense of what you might do in your next mission. I will note on the series tab, there is, towards the right-hand side, an investigation track. This sort of helps us when it comes to making the engagement roll, when we jump into the mission. Right now, there's nothing in the Abyss, so it's at tier 1, and there's nothing in the investigation, so it's also at tier 1. And so we compare those two when we make the engagement roll. So not only does the investigation phase or the investigation downtime activity help us find information, sort of figure out what's going on, but also it literally tracks up the investigation clock and makes certain missions easier to accomplish. Does anybody have any general questions about that or any specific questions? One thing I think I would like to do is in our first round of downtime activities, maybe keep them in the mundane world. And then about halfway through, maybe we can set a scene where everybody steps into the hideout for the first time, and then we can explore that. And then we can then open up the second round of downtime activities and then go from there. All right. 10-minute break. Awesome. All right. See you in 10. Clarice, are you back? Okay. All right. So I'll open it up again. Would anybody like to jump in first? Anybody have a good idea of what they might want for their first downtime activity?
I'll start. Oh, actually, go ahead. Well, you already
Go for
raised
it.
your hand.
Oh, go for it.
Okay. Well, maybe a shocker here for and all, but I plan on kind of making a connection first and foremost. And I guess I gotta choose whoever I'm, I guess, kind of going to, I guess, correct?
Yeah, yep. So let's read it real quick. When you make a connection, describe something you do with another protagonist. If they enjoy it, they may offer you an additional die, and then we make a roll. So who is it you're reaching out to make a connection with?
So I guess my first thought here would be checking in on Violet, especially because I understand how big their role is in the that they had in the pageant with the and all, and how much pressure there is, and how much eyes are on them during it all. So naturally, gotta check in on them, see how they're doing, make sure, kind of that thing of like, I I had the thing of like, I want to make sure that my friend here is doing well, and I also have the thing of like, along with my kind of almost mental promise here, that part of the protecting them from harm is, well, their own from stress, just from the day to day. So I've got to go check up on them. I got to make sure they're all doing so well.
Yeah, sure. That's probably smart. So where do you want to set this?
That, I would say, kind of depends on where your character, I guess, would most likely be at this point in time, considering, I mean, with your obligations and everything, I feel like you're a little bit more, your area of movement at this point in time is probably smaller than mine.
Yeah, I'm probably geographically confined to the festival. So maybe I'm standing outside of a tent in my festival garb. There is this warm breeze kind of blowing through the city streets that we've cleared out to make way for this festival. I'm in my festival garb, and um, you'll approach. What do you say?
Yeah, so as I'm approaching, first of all, I'm seeing you there, kind of just already kind of standing there, kind of at least not immediately kind of overwhelmed with your work at the moment, just kind of standing there, it sounds like, after getting all your things done, it sounds like. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've hastily sewn together the garb that I have, and I'm wearing it, and there's probably a troubled, like more serious look on my face than I normally have. I'm able to drop it real quick and wave high and bow to people as they pass, politely. But you know me well enough to know that something seems a bit off, and I seem a little concerned.
In the back of your mind somewhere. So uh, my character just kind of is going to, first of all, kind of gently kind of make their way forward, as they don't want one to surprise or kind of have a sense of too much energy coming on up towards you, as they kind of can gauge the atmosphere a bit here of just kind of some things in the back of your mind. So they're kind of entering into your space in a way, as gently as possible, and being like, hey Violet, how are you doing? You kind of seem like something's kind of on your mind.
Rose is acting weird.
Weird, like weirder than normal, or like, did she say something that's, I guess, concerning?
She mentioned Gabriel.
Oh, that, I forget. How much have you told her about everything?
She she has hints as to uh what we used to have. Just enough to be jealous about it, probably.
I see. Is it possibly because she's got, maybe she's asking because she's going through her own kind of, maybe she sees somebody that she might like? Do you think that might be why she's acting weird about it? Or do you think she might be more concerned about what happened between you and Gabe?
I don't know. All I can tell you is that I'm worried about her. She is under a lot of pressure from my family and all the other different things she has to do. And, well, I just don't want her to do anything dumb.
Well, and I certainly wouldn't want that either. Is there possibly, I know, like maybe she's not too comfortable maybe bringing it up with you because, you know, family and everything. Maybe I could try talking with her, see if maybe I can see what, if I can kind of gauge what's going on a little bit. Maybe even give you a little hint. She might just drop something a little bit with her guard being down a little bit less. I suspect that she might be holding back because maybe she doesn't want to burden you or worry you of any kind.
I was gonna ask if you might do that. Actually, let me pause here. I don't want to out of character. I don't want to violate my code, which says I am not allowed to ask for help. But that is during a mission. Is this part of the mission?
That's a good question, actually.
Let's see. You live by a code. Your code forbids all but one of the following: violence, lying, admitting fault, asking for help at the end of a mission if you did not violate your code.
That's okay.
Okay. So I think to me that reads as you're certainly welcome to violate any of it, but when you're on a mission, then it negatively impacts you.
Right. Am I on a mission yet, technically?
No.
Okay. In that case, I'll say I was gonna ask you the same thing. Can you keep an eye on her? You don't have to say anything or talk to her, but if she gets into trouble, let me know, okay? I'm afraid she's going to do something dumb.
Oh yeah, no, I can watch over her, and if she looks like she's about to do something definitely less than helpful for her or for anybody really, I'll try and step in, or even I'll try and flag you down if you're nearby.
Yeah, let me know. She yeah, I just don't want anything to happen to her.
Oh yeah, and you know, with your eyes and my eyes on her, I mean, I think she's gonna be pretty well off.
Does this fold look right? And I like am kind of like a gesture at the skirt.
It's probably a great place to cut, like on that. Yeah. I don't know. All right.
Just a little sweat drop looking down at that, like.
So, Sarah, this was your downtime activity, so you make the roll. It sounded like empathize was the action you were using?
Yeah, I would say that was mostly on my empathizing.
Okay. And then Violet, is this an activity that you enjoyed? Muted.
Sorry. Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. So then you have, I believe,
3 dice then.
Oh, do you get an extra dice for downtime?
I get an extra dice for connections.
Oh, very nice. Okay. So 3d6.
All right. Let's see if I have better luck here. Okay, so okay. This one? Oh, no, that's not a d6. Where's the d6 at? Oh,
you can just type in 3d6 in the thing.
I see it. 1, 2, 3. Oh, okay. Roll.
All right. So the highest was 4.
Oh so, my gosh, my rolls.
On a 4 or 5, you get 3 links. So on your playbook, under links, you can mark 3 and you can mark them to Violet.
Okay.
What is it that I can write?
Oh.
Mark?
Oh, wait. Hold on. Sorry. The other protagonist gains links. My bad. All right. So, Sarah, you do not mark any. Instead, Violet,
Okay.
you mark links to Sarah.
Okay, and how many do I mark?
3.
3. Ooh, cool.
Sorry about that. Excellent. Okay. Who would like to go next?
So I'm going to try and avoid being a weasel here, but I did want to check in. Clarice, Clarice, are you up for a downtime action to forge a connection with between Frida and Saria Marie? And
Yeah.
would I be stepping on your toes if I was the one who initiated that?
Nope.
Okay. So I think at some point during the sort of opening night of the festival, when you don't have much of anything to do and my crew is resting, does Saria Marie drink?
No, she doesn't, but she kind of enjoys being around the atmosphere of it, just because people are a little bit more expressive usually. So she's at least around that atmosphere. But she'll be, if she was around any kind of drinking, she'd be probably more or less just drinking water or something, because she's awkward about that.
Okay. So Frida appears at Saria Marie's elbow with a couple of flute glasses of sparkling non-alcoholic cider, and says, you look like you could use a break. I found a spot in the a spot on the balcony there where if we sit for a while, I don't think anybody will. I don't think we'll be underfoot. How do you fancy some people watching?
Oh, I love people watching actually. And also, whoa, where'd you come from? I thought you were yeah, I thought you were really busy at the moment. So glad you got away.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're not. Everybody got the night off. We don't have to. We're not going to be moving the parade for another few days, so figure everybody gets a chance to stretch their calves.
Well, and hey, stretching and relaxing is always good. Don't want to overburden yourself. Um, yeah, she kind of just gestures to like one of her scratches. That would be what happens when you overdo it.
Oh, that does look like it hurt.
Yeah, I mean, that's my fault there. I thought I could hold the flag a little bit longer, ignoring the kind of numbness in my arms during the parade, and I may or may not have dropped it on my face a little bit there. Thankfully, no one saw, so we're fine.
Frida winces a little bit at that, but doesn't like get on your case on it about it or anything. You know, just sort of a empathetic. Geez, that stuff happens. I don't know how expressive your stress is, but I will say behind the curtain, Frida was looking forward to an opportunity to vent to a sympathetic ear.
Mhm.
But if Saria Marie's stress is at all apparent, I think she course corrects and goes, okay, maybe we just need to diffuse stress into the surrounding environment here.
Well, and when it comes to her stress, she keeps that very much hidden. Whereas everything else about her emotions, especially when it comes to caring about others, and being concerned about others, that is out in the forefront. So whenever you can pretty much tell, definitely like whenever you're around Sarah, the focus is really kind of more like whenever any friend is around on their emotions, how they're doing, and usually you can kind of almost feel like they're kind of feeling out the atmosphere of like how you're doing, versus generally speaking, Sarah has a very big problem of actually letting it known that she's dealing with things. If she doesn't like to burden people.
I can see that.
But she loves to be the helper. She's it's kind of a weird kind of problem she has there.
A common malady. I think Frida's keeps her cards relatively close to her chest. You can probably tell that something is bothering her. But she spends however much time we're sort of, sipping cider and watching the watching the light mingling that's going on. She's turning a lot of the focus onto people watching and sort of soaking up the environment and doing maybe some light gossiping.
Mhm. Out of curiosity, how often does she kind of relax in this shape of with like people watching and kind of idle talk and everything? Is this the norm for her, or is this kind of like I get a feeling that she's trying to kind of deflect off of whatever is really on her mind?
This is not normal. This is not normal. This is possibly something that we've done before, maybe, but the fact that she sought you out with sort of an aggressive let's go do a thing that let's go do a thing outside ourselves is possibly a yellow flag.
Well, and I would say Sarah for a while, just kind of to keep the general atmosphere going for a bit, kind of create a kind of comfort zone for her and everything. She kind of plays along for a little bit of like pointing out some people here and there, taking a few sips before, just kind of just offhandedly being like, so is there something on your mind? You seem to like you're trying to distract yourself from something.
It's funny. All the houses contribute to all the houses act in as if they were individual bodies when it comes to putting on these festivals and taking diplomatic actions, but I feel like there isn't enough space for not enough attention is made to the fact that these houses are comprised of people. We all may be wearing the same livery. We may all have similar ambitions or similar goals, but everyone also has their family, their friends, their personal hopes. And that it never doesn't always line up with what the house expects of people.
And Sarah kind of taking that kind of thought in for a moment, kind of letting out just like kind of a understanding kind of like sigh at the thought of it all and being like, yeah, no, everybody kind of acts more or less like a cog within a machine, or like basically whatever kind of makes the mechanism move, and not really thinking about the inner workings of it. It's you all everybody ever sees is just this moving clock and all, but not really seeing the individual parts that kind of make it tick and how it functions. It's I can see that, honestly. It's the unfortunate thing of really, because not very we don't are we're not allowed to kind of like share our expressions or really be ourselves very often. uh it does kind of dehumanize each individual, and it does kind of concern a lot of people, for me, of like whenever I see them, and not sure if they truly even know who they are or what they want anymore.
And people, we're not very good at being cogs. People bleed, people get exhausted, they get tired. They They get upset. I just don't. I just want to make sure that we're looking out for each other and that we don't. It's not. It's not right and it's not appropriate for people to be replaced like machinery when they fall down, when they slip. We're better than that. We deserve more than that.
And at this, Sarah gives you kind of a understanding kind of smile and places a hand to your shoulder and is like, and honestly, that's how I choose to treat everybody. I mean, it might get me in trouble, but at the end of the day, I'd rather, if I see someone has fallen down, or if somebody is about to take a tumble, I'd rather be there to kind of catch them and everything. And I mean, if you and me are making that difference, I'm sure that we can kind of at least help somebody in the right direction. I would like to say that we can help everybody, but I mean, there's only so many of us, and where's the time
Yeah.
for it?
Is that I think the moment where like the camera pans away and we see all of these people in the festival enjoying themselves and yet being cogs in that prescripted enjoyment.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah, I think that's pretty indicative of kind of like the people watching and the atmosphere as I think like even like a little bit of a breeze is kind of just passing by us, kind of almost like kind of that thing of what that both that helping of kind of us both kind of talk this out a bit, but also that kind of still kind of tight kind of grip because it's a little bit of a chill to the wind too. I think it's like that mixed feeling of both kind of a comfort and also that little tightness of like how things are in this world.
All right, Will, what action do you think Frida was using here?
Oh boy. I would say either express or confess.
Okay.
I think she was because conceal feels a little off. She wasn't explicitly talking about the problem. She was talking around it, but I feel like there was a certain degree of confessional. Are you okay with me rolling express on this? Or is that more or would you think it was more just sort of exploring my own internality?
I mean, you get to make the choice for sure, so that's in your power as a player.
Yeah.
I would ask, what was Frida's agenda? It
So,
sounded like she had one at least at the
so
beginning.
so Frida's agenda is she's concerned about Rebecca's brother and she's concerned about her brother and she's concerned about people who don't fit in with their houses getting ground into insolvency. Um, she's concerned about houses acting against the interest of the individual people in them. But she's not putting Rebecca on blast. Like she's not gossiping about her. She's not gossiping about her team, but she's trying to talk through and sort of vent about that particular particular trouble that she's dealing with.
So it sounded like if Express is the angle here, it's almost like Frida shows up next to Sarah and is like, "Yo, you're gonna be a sounding board for me. That's what this is gonna be."
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
So whichever you would prefer.
okay. I think I'm okay with that.
Right. And then
That makes sense.
Sarah, did you enjoy this?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Okay. So I will roll 2 dice.
Mhm.
That was a 5.
All right. So Sarah, you get to mark 3 links with Frida. All right. David or Fumi, you both have your first downtime activity still.
Fumi, you get dibs if you want it.
Let's see. I don't mind if you go first, unless you prefer me going first.
I can go. I'm just trying to think about what I would do. I've been thinking about it here, and I'm not really sure because I kind of want to like. Yeah, I could. Well, let's see. You see, making a connection is a links building kind of thing. Um, Investigating information on your adversaries. I could see investigation being good. Do we even know who our adversaries are, though? That might not make sense.
At the moment, not particularly. You know, the abyss is out there, in whatever it looked like at the end of season 1. Like the enemies that were there were probably defeated. They were probably like proxy enemies, right? So like, yay, we won, but clearly not. We're in season 2. I think you can certainly, if you wanted to go with investigation, we have some weird activities that we could see what's up with those. It's up to you.
What I'll do is I'll just go ahead and get moving on like a long-term project to like maybe improve our hideout.
Okay.
Just like start chucking points into that. So let's see, then I make a downtime roll to advance it. Do people have a strong preference which way we progress on the hideout flowchart? I was gonna go with healing space just because that unlocks more stuff. But if people are big into lounges and libraries, so I can go that direction too.
I have no particular preference.
Okay, I'll go healing space. So what kind of clock are we looking at there? I think you said it was probably like a 4.
Yep. So I went ahead and added it.
Neat. Oh, there it is. Fabulous. And so I roll a downtime roll. And how does that go about?
Ah, right. Okay. So we haven't quite revealed the hideout yet. But so we can either one, hold on to the description for a moment until we reveal the hideout, or you can prepare for it like somewhere down here on the mundane space. It is a healing space, so it's up to you to describe how you go about it. And then based on your description, you choose an action that best reflects that. We make a roll with that action.
Okay, got it. So let's see, healing space. That could look like any number of different things. It could be like physical healing, with just like herbs and first aid stuff. It could be more of like a magical kind of thing, like we have a healing prism or some kind of rainbow gem that sort of can restore energies and bring people kind of back to their senses. I kind of like that a little bit better almost. Um, so how about this? Let's maybe say that I'm thinking out loud here. Maybe I have like a contact from season 1 who I'm trying to get to deliver a kind of a opalescent gem that has essentially a healing property to it. You hold it in your hands and it glows and it shimmers and you just sort of begin to feel better, less beat up, you're calmer, it sort of recharges your batteries, that kind of thing. And my goal is to get a hold of this opal gem. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, this sounds great. I'm thinking, and let me know if this sounds up your alley, that this might be an artifact from like way back when, a smaller, minor artifact. So it's like maybe some house that deals with history and archaeology might have it. That might be where your contact is.
That sounds good to me. Yep.
Okay. Who's this contact? Like, what's their name?
Um, um, Names. These are always the hard parts. Um, Belladonna.
Nice. Um, all right. Is Belladonna she, her?
Sure. Yes.
Um, so you've made contact with this individual and established some kind of working relationship in season one. I think there's two ways maybe we could play out the scene. Is either one, you're reaching out now to like establish a drop off point, like, hey, you found this, like, or did you find this? Bring this to me. Or maybe we flash back to season one where you're with them going through archives or something.
Ooh, yeah, no, that'd be cool. Could we just to start off with, I think a flashback could be neat. So we're kind of going through archives and trying to suss out how to get this thing. I think it'll maybe climax with us dropping it off at some kind of sketchy points, kind of because we're afraid of being kind of intercepted by the forces of evil.
Yeah.
Like they also want this gem. So yeah, maybe there is like a going through archives to either find it or perhaps doing some kind of analysis to figure out a safe place to deliver it to.
Okay. Yeah. So I think Belladonna's there. She has a really old manuscript laid out before her, and there's a bunch of computer like programs whizzing about, like hollow projections, and like clearly it's like translating and reading and projecting the translation above. She's trying to suss out, the information, and she's like, I I've been at this and I've been trying really hard, Violet. Um, the best I can tell is that it's it's low on energy and we're going to need to find a place to rejuvenate it. But after that, the text doesn't give much. At least not as far as I can see. Would you like to take a look?
Hmm. Yeah, let's have a look at it. Um, and a place to rejuvenate it. Do you want to come up with that, or do you want me to?
Oh, feel free.
Could it be like on this like mountaintop shrine that's been abandoned forever? There's this mountain that overlooks the city that we haven't really built on top of. It's just kind of this isolated dark peak. You can barely see the white snow caps in the night through the light pollution. And maybe you have to go up to the top of this mountain where there's this old, vaguely Shinto shrine, where you have to commune with spirits or something to infuse or reawaken the gem, something like that.
Um, okay. Yeah, no, I like that. Um, so you sit there and you work at it for a while and you figure this out. And she says, "All right, I'll pack my bags and I'll get ready. I can't let you do this alone. A discovery like this, I have to record this."
Um, you know that recording could end up being a problem if it falls into the wrong hands, right?
Oh, but oh, she seems very conflicted. Like I don't think for her it's about the patterns and maintaining or doing what her house expects. It's because like she's fascinated and she wants to get this on record.
Hmm.
But then she knows, presumably, that this is of importance to you and should be kept secret. She's torn.
Right.
Does Violet say anything, or do we cut there to like on a cliffhanger we don't know. Maybe another 5
Yeah, cliffhang it. Yeah, cliffhang it.
I like it.
Yep.
It's great. All right. So what action do you think this was?
I'm hoping I can make a case for analyze because I have a point in that.
Yeah, that sounds like what you and Belladonna were up to for sure.
Okay. So is this 2d6 then? Or 1?
It's 1d6.
Okay. 5 again.
5. Nice. All right, that's 3 segments.
Sweet.
So that talk is just about done.
Cool.
Excellent. All right, Fumi, what do we see with Adele?
Let's see. I think it's like Adele will go ahead and try to investigate the abyss, which probably would look along the lines of like them leaving the tent. It's like basically it's like wandering about and everything. It's like looking for any sort of signs or it's like of perhaps abnormal behavior, so to speak, or like things that probably falls into it's like similarities with like how they encountered it's like situations back in season 1. It's like and things like that, namely because Adele has never known a life where they know how to spend a break other than to distract themselves with more work.
All right. So is there anything specific that you do, or do you want to keep it general and we'll see where we take off?
Yeah, I think we'll it's like keep it general for now, namely because I think as well as the obligation role, it's like went and everything, they're still very wound up from it's like earlier and everything. And so they're trying to it's like get their mind off of work by engaging in a different type of work.
Okay. As you're wandering around the pageant slash the stopping point is like been turned, as you know, it's basically a fairground for the most part, slash barracks for the people who work in the pageant. And you're meandering around late because that's the only, that's when you finished your duties. You don't see Oda anywhere. It's a mega city, so there's certainly people around. There's still lights and flashing, but the population has definitely died down. People have gone home to get rest. Pageant workers have tried to catch what sleep and rest they can before practice the next day in preparation for the pageant taking off again into the parade. And you see, people still working the stands, a few closing up shop, and you hear the gentle chime of a music box, and you follow it to an edge, a darker edge, some distance away from most of the other tents. And it is a larger setting, a larger tent that is clearly like a sort of funhouse setup. And it says across the top, a maze of mirrors, come and get lost and reflect upon the patterns. Nobody seems to be working it, but you can hear as if the stand is still active. There's music playing.
Is there anything it's like else that's sort of how do I put it? Suspicious is like about the it's like locale, so to speak, other than it's basically I don't want to say self-manning, but basically it's like unmanned and yet not at the same time, it seems like.
As you get a little closer, take a closer inspection, the air gets cooler until you can start to see your breath.
So you say that basically it's like the stall is like stands before what looks to be it's like fun house or it's like House of Mirrors.
Yep.
Do I see anybody else about or
Uh,
anything?
back.
Sorry, I was about to say like any signs of anybody having like come or gone.
Hmm. So there's definitely like foot traffic. The grass here is trampled. People have certainly gone through this throughout the evening, but for some reason, there's probably also like trash and debris. Nobody's come by to pick it up yet. Probably a sign of, the low finances available to the house who's running this.
It's like Adelpha kind of it's like goes, it's like kind of like walks close. It's like kind of like starts, it's like walking up towards the it's like fun house and everything, kind of like stoops down, picks up. It's like one of like the it's like debris and everything, and it's like kind of like it's like discards it at like the it's like nearby trash can and everything. It's like as they kind of find themselves like a little it's like drawn towards the unusualness is like of this it's like locale, so to speak, as though it's like perhaps something is sort of like drawing them that's like there. It's like for one reason or another.
You see on the mirrors as you get closer, like crystalline spirals of like ice forming, it looks like. Looking down like the entry hall into the maze of mirrors, or the exit, either way, you still see along the mirrors these spiral patterns, and then further in, the mirrors just get more and more frosted.
Do I recognize this as being anything similar to what we've encountered in season 1?
Good question. Maybe this is where we make the investigation roll.
Yeah, I think we can do that. That's probably either perceive or analyze, of which I do not have a stat in.
Oh, I see. Well, we can press pause on that for a moment if you think you might be able to leverage one of your other, like flow might work, moving through it quickly or something like that. But you're more than welcome to roll perceive or analyze.
Let's see. Definitely, it's like definitely juggling between. It's like, do I try to analyze for now, or do I go? It's like, or do I just jump in and see what happens?
Mm-hmm. Who is Adele?
They're definitely always torn between those. It's like two states of mind. It's like, do I try to act rationally? Jumping in is it's like acting rational enough, right?
When you're a magical girl.
So like jumping in on a lack of information is rational enough, right? I mean, I think I've gotten in trouble, it's like for it beforehand, but it worked out, right? Probably.
Okay. So
It's like, yeah, I think for now it's like probably it's like probably kind of like drawn to it's like this atmosphere in some way and wanting to sort of it's like investigate further. It's like they head into the fun house.
all right. So the music plays as you move through, and you see the reflections in the mirrors, and they're frosted over. But the further in you get, they're frosted, and then at some point, they're perfectly reflective. Maybe it's just a perfect sheen of ice. It's not clear, and the music gets louder, and you see your reflection. And as you move through this space, it becomes disorienting. And I think we see a series of scenes where you flow gracefully from one place to the next, trying to navigate this maze. And from the perspective of the audience, it's almost like you're dancing with your reflection, just moving through gracefully. And eventually, I think we stop in the center of the maze, and you see people there, hunched, fallen over, in strange contorted shapes, living sculptures frosted over. Let's make that roll, and then we'll answer your questions.
So that'd be a 2d6.
I think 1d6, unless you have an ability that I don't know about or I haven't looked at.
Oh yeah, 1d6.
Okay.
Nope,
Two.
that's a 2.
All right. So with a 2 on gather information, one question you can ask. And then we also gain 2 segments on the investigation track, which I'll mark.
Let's see. I guess it's like, I think I'll go with a vague, what here in this scene feels incomplete or is incomplete.
What here is incomplete? You sense that the mirrors and the ice and the people, there is an indication here that either the people or something else, there was a reaching out, one way, maybe both, to establish a connection. And it couldn't form, not wholly. Something stopped it, or it's in the process. It's not clear, but it hasn't been like fully established, fully connected. There was an attempt. Is that a satisfying answer for you?
I think so. You say one of the living statues is reaching out like this?
Yeah, I think that's something that you notice. Like they're all when they're contorted poses, reaching out to the mirrors, as if to like grasp somebody else's hand.
And you say there's one mirror that like clearly reflects. It's like that clearly shows my reflection.
This deep in, they all do. It's like perfect sheens of ice.
Think probably like it's like Adelpha probably turns to like it's like nearest it's like mirror and kind of like sort of instinctively it's like following along with the statues. It's like reaches out to it's like touch the reflection.
Yeah, I think we see as your fingertips get closer and closer and closer, like the reflection is perfect. And then right as your fingertips touch the perfect sheen of ice, it completely frosts over and the reflection is lost. It becomes fuzzy, like the spiral crystalline patterns towards the edge of this weird supernatural event. Excellent. Okay, so that was the first round of downtime activities. We have 9 minutes before our next break. Do you want to take the break early and then we'll jump in and describe the hideout? All right, 5.
5 sounds good.
Clarice, are you back? All right. Adele, just a quick follow-up question. What does Adele do after they discover these people frozen in sculptures?
I think the first thing would be, do I happen to sort of recognize these like statues as like resembling anybody?
Hmm. I don't think so. I think they just appear like nondescript citizens. Clearly this is supernatural of some sort, like right. This sort of thing isn't in the news.
I think basically after reaching out for the reflection and having the ice basically sort of shatter at their touch and everything kind of snaps them back to it's like the present and everything. Kind of like, huh, it's like, what was I it's like doing here again? And everything kind of like they got so drawn in and sort of like forgot why. And then they it's like kind of like looks around at where they are in the fun house and everything. Sort of perhaps takes a moment to kind of like walk is like around is sort of like examining each of the ice statues, probably sort of like reaches out and kind of like meets their outstretched fingertips with their own. It's like in turn as they try to like make their way back, it's like or like they try to find their way through the fun house.
Okay. Yeah. So I think you make your way out, no problem. And then a quick glance back. The ice has begun to melt, and one of the mirrors, the far end of the exit hallway, you just see like movement, like in the mirror itself. Like clearly, there's nothing to give the reflection. It's just like a shift, and then it's gone. Do you reach out to your companions, or do we leave that as an open question and then we all are at the hideout and we see what that's like?
Yeah, I think we can cut to the hideout.
Okay. So it requires some kind of like emotional resonance to be able to move into the skybox. Does it look the same for everybody, or is it a unique thing for each of you?
I don't know. Like, part of me wonders if like it's different for each of us when if we've come to it alone, but it kind of feeds off of a more group emotion when we're together, like the culmination of uh the mindset of everybody at the time. Hard to say. What does everybody else think?
Does that include people who are in the skybox at the time? Like, does it if one person was already there and then three people all arrived as a group, would the three people would have to have like a similar emotional resonance coming in as a group, or would it also have to dovetail with the person who was already there?
Or it could be the thing of like when we come in, the room and it's presenting changes form around you who's already there, as it kind of adjusts to the newer dynamic of everybody entering in.
I like that, yeah.
David, Fumi, do you have any?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay. All right. So I think by some way, shape, or means or another, you all are there, emerging from what looks like a reflecting pool, climbing up out of water, but not wet, onto a set of stairs. And then when you reach the top, the skybox like unfurls around you, reading off the resonance, the emotions you're giving off, your personal identity, your expression. So what do we see for each of you as the skybox, like the lounge, like, I think, yeah, the hideout in the lounge or the practice room, the hideout into the practice room, like take form around you.
I feel like this would be a good way to kind of like either talk about how each of us feels and then kind of come up with a greater picture from the differences and all.
Yeah, sure.
Are we saying kind of like what's in the hideout?
I
We could
think
yeah, we could have it like show up like in a way where each of our own kind of feelings kind of influences or like portions of it, so it's almost like this weird mishmash of a puzzle piece.
yes, I love that.
Okay. Um, I mean, depending on how fancy we want it to be, do we have enough room for a chandelier made of prisms?
100%. It's got to be massive and like exaggerated in proportions.
Kind of like how you see like in a lot of anime, you see this like really big fixation on like French Rococo architecture. It's like one of those giant, like over kind of excessive chandeliers.
I think there is no ceiling to the skybox. There's walls, pillars perhaps, and then it just goes up into the darkness. And there is one star, like illuminating, looking down. The same star, presumably, that you can see in the night sky in the mundane world at the moment. So, is the chandelier just floating there, suspended, or is there like a chain or series of chains that just go up into nothingness?
I like suspended with no chain. That's a small detail, but I like it.
There is not a visible floor. It's not necessarily translucent, not necessarily transparent. Maybe it's foggy beneath one's feet, so you're not like staring down into an endless abyss and having extreme vertigo all the time. Um, but there is no, and you can feel a floor under your feet, but there is no definition to it. And we've sort of compensated for that by bringing in rugs and rushes and other things that we can use to delineate and mark out space so that we're not like standing on nothing all the time. um, there's a practice dummy that has like some mats around it, and so the mats are sort of like delineating out the space of enough space for somebody to interact with the dummy. I guess there's a question: if there are pillars, do the pillars have like a fluted base that's sitting on absolutely nothing, or do they kind of just also go on forever and just get foggier and foggier?
I kind of like the idea that they go on forever and then there's like a change at every so often in the structure of it. And it's done up in such a way so that where you expect your feet to like the floor to be, it looks reflected. Clarice, Fumi, are there any ways in which Adele or Sarah and their emotional states are reflected in this space?
I think it's like currently, given it's like recent events and everything, Adele kind of like just sort of it's like is too real. It's like is a little too confused and probably is like feeling like they're perhaps a tad sleep deprived. It's like trying to figure out if like what they just experienced was some sort of strange fever dream or something. And so it's like they kind of and so in a way it's like there's probably a slight sort of haziness. It's like too it's like the skybox when they enter, they don't really take in too much of their environment and everything. It's like and kind of go as they head as they kind of like they enter the skybox, it's like they kind of pace through it and head straight towards the practice room trying to it's like snap themselves out of their mental haze right now.
I could say that given everything that's kind of working in tandem with Sarah, like from the obligation to conversations and everything, there's the thing of like kind of I would say like this kind of in the almost kind of the distant kind of part of this like almost space of a room. There's kind of I would want to say like kind of like a few like kind of celestial bodies kind of surrounding is kind of like orbiting around, and all of them kind of having their kind of more kind of unique little uh, kind of lighting with one thing, but one kind of little like thing orbiting amongst it, kind of similar kind of signifying the kind of more the other side of Sarah, where they're kind of stressed out and not kind of talking about it, is kind of this more of a one of the planets has like that's kind of orbiting around is more darkened out with only like the slightest bit of like light peering past it, almost like it's kind of being it's the all the light is kind of being either absorbed inward from it or kind of being held back from it, whereas all the other planets have a lot more lighting and kind of a sense of uh, mystique to it, kind of signifying the more of the how she's her other feelings of like being really interested in her friends and their situations and wanting to be of help to them.
When you say celestial bodies, are these?
I would say
Go ahead.
it could be kind of I was thinking kind of almost akin to kind of like almost like a farther out kind of almost like planetary kind of systems kind of orbiting around us.
Okay, so yeah, big actual celestial body scales, not like a small model.
Yes.
Very cool. Okay, I got it. All right, so you all make your entrance or up here into the hideout. Adele quickly goes over to the dummy to start working out stress. And I think in magical girl fashion, there is about a dog-sized creature that comes out and joins you all. I think it has, like, from a distance, it looks like it's white fur, but when you get closer, I think it's like opalescent. It reflects multiple hues of light. Uh, I think in season one, this is probably the creature that led you to the hideout, that like helped bring you to it. I think its general shape is that of like a large hare, a large rabbit, just generally. What other interesting, weird, fantastical features does it have?
And you said it's kind of opalescent, like
Opalescent in
opalescent.
color.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it looks semi like a hare. Okay. I want to say that like what kind of makes it stand out a little bit different from I would say the other hares in a way is that how should I put it? Uh, when you look into its eyes and everything, it has kind of a unique kind of a sheen, and almost looks like if you look into it, you can peer farther and farther into like a whole different space of sorts with it.
I like it.
Does anybody have any other features they would like to add?
The hair has prodigious sweeping whiskers. Very very elderly and esteemed whiskers.
Would a monocle be too cartoonish?
Not in a magical girl show.
Because this is kind of like a mascot mentor sort of character almost, right?
Seems that way. I think
Something,
it's quiet. Yeah.
okay, something kind of quirky like that, like a monocle or a top hat or, just some visual thing.
Mm-hmm. Fumi, is there anything you would like to add?
No, I think I just heard like top hat to monocle and got lost in the visual. It's like visualizing that. It's like it amuses me. Maybe add it's like cane to it for it's like a cane and like maybe a little cape to it for extra classiness.
I think I think it just comes out from hiding and just is amongst you, like is there. Doesn't think it says anything. It just hangs out with you, sort of comforting, guiding presence.
Did we name it?
It's got to be named.
I feel like we would have named it in season 1, you guys. I don't know if we would just leave this poor little fellow without a name.
There is a Lepus constellation that's totally rabbit or hare.
I love that.
What is the name of it?
Lepus.
Lepus?
Yeah.
Nice.
Or lepus, however you pronounce it.
Okay. I like it. So you've all managed to find your way here to the hideout. Is this a scene that's currently in the present, or is this something that's in the back, and then we'll jump back to the mortal realm to finish the downtime activities? Is there something that any of you all want to share?
Oh, that's a good question. Where do we want to consider this present or kind of a past kind of thing? Everybody, that kind of would dictate how I interpret what's going on here. So, does anyone have a preference, I suppose?
I think it's
No, I was just gonna say no big preference on my end.
All right. So if there's no preference, I think it's present, and I think it's clear that like Adele is working out something. You can all see each other's emotions reflected in the world around you. Do you just all go about your business, or do you reach out?
Go ahead, sorry.
Go for it.
Well, Sarah kind of noticing this, but not wanting to interrupt anything that's going on currently with venting things out, they kind of just find a little place to kind of sit and kind of, at the moment, kind of watch as this occurs, not wanting to yet interject on anything because and just kind of almost out of the sheer conversation that they had prior with Frida, kind of almost in a way kind of looking over towards Frida, kind of giving kind of a little kind of almost like a gesture with their head in a way of coming on of coming over here. It's in the sense of like, hey, speaking of somebody who might need somebody to talk to about cogs and such kind of look.
I think Frida picks up on that. Anything you'd like to share with the class? Directed to Adele. Drifts
I think that kind of flies entirely over their head.
I sort of drift into Adele's vision cone so that I'm not startling them while they're busy practicing. But I hold the dummy stationary for a second and I say, if you've things aren't right out there, are they? What have you found out?
It's like, and Adelpha's probably like swinging their. I described it as a rapier at first, but I think it's like weapon is like more of it's like closer to a spadroon. And it's like it's like basically like swinging at it's like practice dummy and kind of like stop mid swing when they notice that it's like Frida's there. It's like, and kind of just, oh, good evening. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
You're out of sorts and it's obvious, and you're out of sorts and it's obvious, and I would hope you would do us the courtesy of telling us why.
And it's like sort of lower they sort of lower themselves, or it's like lower the weapon a bit. It's like raise it's like their other hand too. It's like their fingers sort of like holding their forehead in thought. It's like, and everything as they try to call, and they're like, it's like before they kind of repeat, I'm not sure if it's anything to report. It's like, honestly, I'm not sure if it's like how to explain it. And it's like, I'm not sure. It's like, and I don't imagine it's anything that it's like any of you three it's like would have encountered, since I'm mostly the one it's like in charge of it's like managing some of the things with a pageant. But are you familiar with anybody who put up a fun house? It's like, I believe it's like called House of Mirrors for it's like the pageant. It's like I seem to encounter a very odd establishment of one. It's like I'm not particularly sure what it means.
Sarah just kind of tilts their head in kind of that contemplation / confusion, and then just kind of speaks quite frankly from her heart of just, I've not seen anything like that in any of the pageants I've been even a part of. And what you kind of describe, I've heard of them and all, but I've never actually been to a funhouse or anything with mirrors, so I don't have any idea where exactly did you even see this? Like, how far away is it? Like, was anybody else there?
Not anybody. How do I put this? And it's like Adelpha's clearly is like trying to figure out how to describe it in a way that makes any sense whatsoever in any sort of context before before they finally try to go back to step one and explain. It's like, I think I'm still pretty certain I somehow dreamt this. It's like that. It's like I'd encountered fun house, and in exploring it and everything, there wasn't really anybody else present. It's like the stall itself was unmanned, but inside the fun house was where It's like a bunch of it's like where it's like numerous it's like living ice statues, if I were to describe it. It was a bit of distressing it's like sight, if I have to say.
Rita puts both of her hands on the dummy and looks straight at you and says, "Are you serious?"
I mean, have you it's like really known me to joke? Not that I've ever been allowed to, but
She sort of twists her mouth wryly and kneads her fist into the dummy and then looks back up at you and says, "This I have a housemate missing. He's supposed to be here. He isn't. I don't know if it's related, but I don't think there's. I think that some. I think there's. I don't think you dreamt what you drew. I don't think what you saw was a dream. I think we should treat it as seriously as we can."
well, it's like I mean, it's like I can take you along. It's like I'm not going to it's like be forcing anybody else into it's like this venture. And it's like kind of just considering Frida still sort of occupying the training dummy from them and everything. It's like sort of it's like turned towards it's like Violent and Sarah and just it's like did you two encounter anything it's like strange during the evening?
This is the first I've heard about this, but it's something that we need to follow up on.
I can say I really haven't experienced anything weird or strange or anything out of the ordinary, unfortunately, since the pageant started. Um, but by all means, I would not say that I would ever let you guys go alone. So I would, if you guys do actually plan to go there, I would, wherever this is, I do want to come with.
Trying to, I sort of look at give a side look to Violet, try and get a sense of what her take on this is.
Um, I have never heard of anything like this before, but that's a problem. If there's some sort of part of the pageant that's new, we should all be aware of it. We're close enough um, to the committees responsible for putting all this together that we should be aware of this.
And our track record with mirrors has not been entirely stellar.
Yeah, and you're mentioning now that there's a person missing, which, I mean, if they went missing recently and all, and this thing just kind of showed up, that's not usually something I would say is. I think there's a correlation. Now, whether the person is there or not, I can't say, but I mean, if it is making anybody disappear or maybe even that person we find out is just making this on their own separately, maybe that'd be weird. I don't know how anyone would do that without anybody knowing until now. Um, but yeah, I think it's we have to look into it. I mean, we don't know anything of what's going on with, and if it was made by people and not anything unusual, I mean, I feel like somebody would have been talking about this. The fact that we are only now hearing about it from, well, Adele here is just seems really odd.
Well, it's like if it's like we're all in agreement to investigate it, then it's like I suppose it's like I'll it's like lead us back to it's like where I'd initially found it. On it's like as we're it's like moving, it's like Frida, tell us about it's like this person that's gone missing. And it's like kind of just does this interrupt our downtime activities?
No, we haven't gone on a mission yet. So I think this is just an establishing scene where everybody's
Yeah.
getting the same information. And we do have another round of downtime activities. Um,
Yeah, and I
so if
have
everybody,
technically
go ahead, sorry.
2.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold that thought. Hold that thought, Adele. I can give you a I don't know if these items are I don't know if these issues are related, but I'm going to I don't know if these issues are related, but I think I may be able to find out more. Um
Oh, and not to mention, while you're finding out things more, we really probably should do this when there's as little activity going on at the pageant, just because any of us disappearing for even a certain amount of time is certain to get attention. So it'd be probably best if we wait till we're absolutely certain that we can all get away without, you know, alerting anybody in our respective houses or concerning anybody, because that would be its own problem.
well
Of
that
course.
well that depends, doesn't it? That depends on whether people are going missing and whether those people can wait. Oh, if you excuse me. And Frida leaves.
I think it's probably a great end to the scene. We are at half an hour, so we can move through a couple more downtime activities and then pick up the rest next time because we still have experience to mark at the end of the session as well. It sounds like Frida has a mission that she's
Uh,
on.
Frida is going to go and she's going to put on a junior dancer's practice outfit. It's pretty bare on livery. It's mostly a neutral color that hides stains well, but there's probably some sort of you know diminutive indicator of livery on it. She is dressing down. She is going. She's wearing a hoodie. She puts the hoodie up and she is going to go around to the various dancers of the various houses who are sort of recuperating from the parade and just sort of collect gossip about the area. Like, how are people doing? Are there any troubles? Is everything going out all right? Has anybody gone missing? Just trying to, just one of the dancers trying to engage in the whisper network to find out what people's take on the current situation is.
Excellent. That sounds like investigation to me.
All right. It is. I'd like to roll conceal for it because I am actively trying to go unnoticed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that is 1d6. That is not the right die. That is a 5.
Nice. All right. So that is 3 segments on the investigation clock. So we're full up on tier 1.
Sweet.
And then that is 1 question and 1 follow-up question.
All right. The
So you have a list of gather information questions on your playbook.
Yeah, I'm torn between asking the extremely open-ended and breaks the situation wide open of what's really going on here, but if you would prefer to answer something more narrow, there's what's the danger that nobody sees? I have lost my character sheet. Where is this?
Those are both really good, so it's up to you.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go with. I'm paraphrasing it because I don't have the character sheet in front of me. But what's the danger that nobody sees here?
Yeah, what's the danger no one else sees? There are all of the dancers are, as we established earlier, very tired, very exhausted, pushed to their limits, and yet still trying to fit within protocols. They're at their breaking edge. It's too much. This past stint of the pageant and the parade has been too much, and now to come here with insufficient supplies, they've been run ragged. And emotions are high, barely kept in check. So they're trying to find any kind of outlet that they can. And let's see, what's the danger no one else sees? So they are looking for something, anything that will help them. And there is a bunch of invitations, fancy, ornate, black and white with black ribbon, fancy script, inviting them all, or however many would like to show up to this Hall of Mirrors. Nice, fun, relaxing, get your mind off of things. And then also placed with them is like a care package full of all sorts of new state of the art, newly formulated cosmetics. And as you go about talking to them, talking among the dancers, it's clear that a few of them have gone missing, haven't shown up, but everybody's so upset, so frustrated, they're just playing their part and leaving it at that.
All right. Where did these follow-up question? Where did these invitations? Where and when did these invitations start popping up?
Okay. It's as if somebody had been prepared that this last stint was going to be so bad. And so the invitations are dated just before the parade got started, on its last bit. And the other part of that was who sent them? Is that right?
Yeah. Like, can I find out anything about how these invitations got into the hands of people?
Yes. Okay. So they are clearly marked as having been received from a higher house. The identity of the house isn't known, isn't stated, but like everything about the invitation clearly indicates that this comes from money, this comes from support. These invitations are perfectly created, structured, elegant. Like the writing itself is of like unique inks, prints. So one of the big houses has sent out these invitations.
Okay. Free question. Where's Adele? What are they doing? We can hold off on that one for a bit. I just thought I needed to ask it.
It's like, yeah, we can, it's like, I can answer that, or we can hold off on it. Whichever. Let's see. Go ahead.
How about when you take your downtime action, let me know if any of that filters over to me.
I imagine basically after being interrupted in their initial downtime plan, it's like with it's like all of that, it's like revelation and everything, and then it's like Frida just suddenly off. It's like to go. It's like investigate what sounds like on the missing person that they have not yet described to them and everything. It's like they decided, actually, it's like I should probably go investigate. It's like more, it's like regarding what anybody knows about that fun house that nobody seems to be manning. And so it's like basically it's like pretty much left the skybox after it's like Frida did too. It's like investigate it's like to basically investigate on the committees if anybody is like knows or who in the world set up that fun house and any information on it basically.
Okay. That sounds like you want to do investigation again for your next downtime activity?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you're going through all of this paperwork. All right, so what action is that?
I think that's probably closest to analyze. It's like to which I don't have anything in, so I guess that's 2d6 with disadvantage.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see. That's a 1 on both.
Okay. So with the 1, we mark 2 segments on the investigation clock, and you get 1 question.
I suppose it's like, let's see. I think it would be, since they are investigating if any of the committees basically is like know of anything regarding the fun house, I think it's like probably the best question to ask is who here can best help me in that.
Okay. Going through the paperwork, you see that the house that's been putting on this particular festivities has, due to lack of manning, has sent out requests for aid to other houses to help support, help run things. And you see here that part of the group that has been tasked with managing the events, the tents, those sorts of things is Violet. What is your house's name?
Oh, goodness. Do we have a naming convention that we've been sticking with, like House of Blank or anything like that I can work off of?
I have 3 in my notes that House Domina, House Neptuna, and House Ignis, if that inspires you at all.
Okay, Ignis, what are they house representing?
So they are a major house that underneath them are a bunch of other houses that deal with labor and protection and enforcement.
Got it. Let's do 1 sec. I've got an idea here. Let's do House Hephaestus, the Greek
Nice.
god of fire and the forge.
Yes. So there's a name signed on it. Rose of House Hephaestus.
I knew it. Yeah. Okay. And who sees this note?
Oh, Adele.
Okay, very good.
I can only assume I'm like at least it's like just the slightest bit familiar enough with it's like Rose from season 1, and probably I just go somehow it's like for some reason I don't feel like I should be surprised. And I think we can it's like move on to it's like either Violet or Sarah.
Do any of you have one that jumps out that you're ready to go on?
You're muted there.
Whoopsie. Do I know that Rose is directly involved in this, or at least that someone's trying to make it seem that way?
Well, it certainly sounded like Rose, when she visited Violet, was very busy doing whatever it is that the house needs to do, helping make sure things were happening and running.
this note that was connected to the funhouse, right?
That seems to be the indication.
Okay.
Dell looked into who's helping manage all of the festivities here at this particular place because the primary house putting it on doesn't have the manpower at the moment.
Yeah, and you
Okay.
can just imagine basically after seeing that note and everything, just Adelpha is like practically it's like rushing to it's like you know that one meme where somebody just busts through the door going, "Holy shit," or something like that. It's basically like that, but not quite in that sort of wording, just going like it's like basically it's like going it's like just suddenly it's like returning to the skybox going, Violet, I think you need to see this.
Um, yeah, for me, if I can do some kind of downtime action connected to interacting with Rose and trying to figure out what has got her in its clutches, or if she's willingly thrust herself into something's clutches, I would do something like that.
Okay.
It that's I guess what I would do. Maybe that's like an investigation thing.
Sure. Yeah, I could see that as being either work on a long-term project or investigation, either way.
Working on a long-term project, how could you set it up that way?
I think we would set it up as making progress on digging into pretty much what you said, what's got its clutches into Rose.
Okay, if we want to set up a progress track on that, that sounds okay to me.
Okay. Um, Rose is your sister. Let's make this a 4 o'clock.
Okay.
So what does this look? We are at 15 till. I don't want to rush that interaction between Violet and her sister. Do we want to hold off to the beginning of next session?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay. All right.
I think for me, it's just like you see this shot of me like seeing the note, the camera slowly like pans in as my eyes widen, and then it just like slam cuts to me stalking through the night in the direction of Rose's tent or wherever she would be located.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so at the end of the session, we go through experience. So on your playbook, you have a section called XP. And so we just work through this to mark XP. You get to answer these, so they're up to you whether or not you feel like you've met the requirements, and then you mark XP. So it's nice to go through it one at a time, go through them, and then each individual item one at a time, talk about them aloud. Is there anybody that's ready to go, or should I call on somebody? We can go through it together.
Yes, I could start.
All right, sweet. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So there's no action rolls. They're all downtime rolls, so no desperate rolls this time. So did you feel like you addressed a challenge with compassion or honesty?
I would say yes on that
Yeah.
one.
Okay.
So 2 XP.
Yeah, I think we definitely saw you do that a lot for sure. Like pretty much every moment you were on screen.
Express your beliefs, drives, roles, or background. I mean, I definitely expressed my beliefs on the helping others and that kind of conversation I had with Bellatrix. So I guess that's another XP.
Sure, yeah.
You struggled with issues from your promise and obligation. Not this session. There's something that happened from this session, but it hasn't occurred. That was something that was going to come in my downtime, so I would say probably not at this moment.
Okay.
Let's see here. You embodies. Oh my gosh, the wording of that.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're all good.
That's misspelling on my part.
You embodied your eclipse or displayed the contents of your heart. No, I would say that I'm definitely keeping a lot of things right now kind of to myself as on the hard side of things. So I would say no.
Awesome.
I guess I can go. I addressed a challenge with individual action or aggression. I would say yes, comma, multiple. Mostly associated with the second downtime action. Expressed my beliefs, drives, role, or background. I think I'll take 1 XP for that, given the relationship I had with the color guard and sort of trying to keep tabs on them / take care of them. You struggled with issues from your promises or obligation. I would say that dealing with Rebecca's brother was a driving force in my session, so I'll take 1 XP for that. But I will take that in lieu of displayed the contents of your heart. I think that's 1 XP from either 1 XP from the one question or the other question, but not from both. So I'm going to drop 4 XP into Moon, and someday I may be rolling. Someday I will not be rolling 0 dice on an obligation roll.
Excellent. Yeah. So yeah, that's a great reminder. At the end of session experience, you don't have to drop into the XP track itself. You can also drop those into attribute XP markers.
Oh, that makes sense. And it looks like it takes 6 XP to level up a attribute.
That's correct.
Oh, okay, got it. All right. I can go, I think. I'll just kind of think out loud real quick. For my XP, it says you addressed a challenge with kindness or self-sacrifice. Arguably one time. I mean, I'm not really addressing the challenge directly, but I am approaching the issue of what's Rose up to with a sense of concern for her and making sure she's not getting hurt instead of a she's up to no good and I need to stop her because she's bad kind of approach. So I'm still making a point to see the best in her. Like that feels like kindness, I guess. If that sounds okay to people. Expressing beliefs, drives, role, or background. I mean, beliefs, I think, in my conversation, both with Rose and in my conversation with Polaris about Rose. I don't know if I struggled with issues from my promises or obligation. This doesn't really contradict my Torch Maiden role yet, and it doesn't really contradict my promises, so I'm gonna say no to that. And I don't think the Eclipse stuff really came up, so I think I just have 2 XP right now.
Okay.
And do I put those if I do put those in my XP chart, can I assign them to other stuff later?
That's fine.
Okay.
Doesn't bother me.
Do you think that felt right? These kinds of things where you have to like answer questions always feel very I can never tell if I'm giving myself too much XP or too little.
They're hard that way. I agree. I feel like you do display the contents of your heart talking about Rose. I don't think that's necessarily double dipping. I just think
that's true.
2 of them.
No, that's true. No, I was very vulnerably honest, I think, which is sure. Okay, we'll tack an extra XP on there then.
It's the kind of honesty that moves the wheels of the plot forward.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, I can work with that.
All right, that takes us to Adele.
Let's see. You addressed a challenge with understanding or coordination. I'm not sure if they really necessarily encountered or addressed as like such a challenge in that way. It's like this session. It's like per se. Let's see. You expressed your beliefs, drives, role, or background. Yeah, they did. It's like, yeah, it's like I was able to basically play to their background quite a bit. Struggled with issues from your promises or obligation. I feel like that kind of overlaps with the expressing their background kind of thing. So it's like I say as the one character that didn't take any stress from their obligation role. It's like this session. And then it's like you embodied your eclipse or display the contents of your heart. I don't believe I've really it's like done either of those for this session. So I think that's probably like 2 XP.
Was there anything that came up during the obligation scene that would involve addressing a challenge with understanding or coordination? I mean, you had a sort of mentor sparring, emotional sparring match with Oda.
I suppose it would, although I think I mostly attributed that to like expressing their background. So like I suppose I could count, but it's like I think I counted that more towards it's like point number it's like 2. It's like especially since it's like we didn't really it's like it they didn't really go in depth as to like necessarily how it's like things were managed. Things were not too on fire, fortunately.
Um, just for the sake of perhaps landing an extra XP, I think that particular scene was interesting because it was all about following protocol and meeting your house's expectations, but it also felt like, at least to me, that you were like really reading and understood Oda and who they were and what they were doing to you.
Yeah, I think I could say that. But yeah, I suppose I can be nice and give myself an extra XP.
Excellent.
It
Okay.
mentions if multiple items and everything, you expressed your beliefs countless times throughout things. I don't know, like I think that would be more of a 2 XP instead of 1.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think that's it's like pretty true. Like playing to their background for the most part is it's like pretty it's like natural. Okay.
All right, so next is Stars and Wishes. First, though, this was our first session playing through it, and my first session running through like the play part of Girl by Moonlight. So I just wanted to get a poll real quick on how we feel about the pacing so far. Does it feel a little too slow? Do I need to speed it up to move through scenes a little faster, or are we enjoying the time to sit in the character development?
I think the scenes individually are paced well. It's all of the, and this is really a kind of a forged in the dark thing, I think, but you have like all of this structure, like we got to do this phase and then this phase and then this phase and then this phase, and it just feels like there's a good amount, there's quite a lot of setup before you get to play the game, if that makes sense. Which is I have this issue with lots of forged in the dark games, so it's not something you're necessarily doing. I think the actual role play scenes are paced wonderfully. It just seems like there's a lot of setup and making choices about, okay, what am I going to do next before we actually get to the role play. So it feels like it's scene, lots of out of character discussion about what happens next. Short scene, a lot of out of character discussion. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I follow. There's that downtime, not downtime phase, but downtime in between the actual role playing where we're processing the rules and whatnot. I wonder if that will speed up as we get used to it.
Probably, yeah. My guess is that it will. I think these Fortune in the Dark games just require some familiarity with them before they really start to feel like you're in a groove. It's kind of like a board game, you know, the first time you play a complicated board game, everyone's standing around like, how do I do this? And then once you've played it several times, it becomes more natural.
I feel like we're on track to do a mission per 2 sessions, and that does not surprise me. Forged in the Dark, it does not surprise me. I think if we, I'm personally fine with the pacing. This does not feel overly slow for the kind of game that it is. But I suppose I'm guessing that if we could, I mean, maybe we could come up to a mission every 1.5 sessions, but I don't feel the need to really stress about it.
Okay, sure. I appreciate both of those thoughts. Absolutely. Fumi or Clarice, do you have anything or any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think like pretty much my thoughts are it's like pretty much the same as well, and it's like David's. It's like it's the thing of the in between scenes is like take a little bit more time in part because we're also really um it's like how do I put it, nailing down the finer details of the setting and everything. It's like that it's like our characters and it's like are in and everything. So it's like maybe the setup of each scene goes faster. It's like with the it's like as time goes on and everything. With that said, though, it's like, oh, we only have 5 more sessions after this and everything. So it's kind of like, yeah, it's pretty much more of like, oh, the design of it's like Forge in the Dark games, and then it's like, oh, we only have 5 more sessions after this. It's like how much are we going to be able to it's like do and all that. So it's like I personally don't have any problems with the it's like pacing itself per se, other than, it's like what's kind of how do I put it, facilitated by the design of it's like Forged in the Dark. It's like especially since I enjoy the narrative and the role playing part and everything. But I definitely do have it's like but like I definitely agree with Will and David where it's like, oh, it's like but the setup between the scenes.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
I don't really have too much to say. I mean, pace for me was more or less, oh, people are first getting kind of comfortable, getting used to the characters, getting used to the things. A lot of those things I feel are going to go a lot faster as time progresses. My bigger thing is more of just the pacing in regards to more of how many sessions we actually have, and just trying to figure out how things will play out with the few sessions, because I've not experienced a Forge in the Dark or a narrative that's done it in 5 or so sessions. So that's more of my thing of just trying to see how that plays out, so it doesn't in the sense of like, okay, what will actually get accomplished story / role playing character development and everything like that in the short time we have.
Yeah, I hear that. That's definitely something that got brought up, I think, the past 2 sessions as well. So I think that's probably a conversation we'll have maybe again in the future about what we can fit into these sessions and ideas about possibly expanding it and stuff like that. Awesome, thank you. Stars and Wishes. I felt like the characters really came alive. I enjoyed so much of it. I wasn't sure about some of the ideas. Like I was like, I don't know what this is going to look like. But you guys seem to know what your characters are, and mwah, they were beautiful. It was amazing. I really enjoyed all of that. I don't have any particular wish other than to see more of the characters on screen and all of their raw emotions, which is great, and see what they do and what they look like in magical girl action sequences. It should be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I same thing. I kind of already said my wishes related to just the game's structure, I guess. But I really enjoyed every scene that came up where there was role play involved. I especially liked the questions, Will, that you were asking one after the other during your investigation scene. I thought those were cool questions and timed well. So yeah, no, I guess maybe I would just like to next time see if we can get the team together and do mission stuff all together and get actions and difficult choices and all that kind of fun stuff. Just getting past the setup phase, I guess.
Yeah, I'm pretty much it's like same here. I'm pretty much looking forward to seeing how it's like the party pretty much interacts with it's like each other more, especially as we get into the it's like as we gradually start getting to the engagement phase and how it's like the things we're discovering in the downtime phases is like are probably leading up to it.
This is a star for Danny. I was leading on working off of what Fumi said about the downtime phases. I feel like there's this rolling snowball of information and tension that starts with the downtime that starts with the obligation phase and has been sort of building through the investigation roles in the downtime phase. That's just sort of generating momentum for the engagement role. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens when this group springs into action and we sort of land the mystery of the funhouse mirrors and sort of run the tension of this session into it. I'm also very curious to see what 5 stress looks like for Bellatrix and Polaris when they hit that mission, because that's kind of it's kind of a sword hanging over our heads.
Let's see here. Stars wishes. I'm trying to remember. Okay, yeah. Honestly, loved all the role playing aspects and everything. Granted, I'm very much really into the role playing side of things when it comes to tabletops. So really enjoyed the character interactions and had a great time getting to kind of connect with other people's characters, as that's kind of the entire gimmick of what I chose this character to be like in general. And kind of loved the initial setup of everything so far and the kind of what the world is like, what we're kind of steadily kind of piecing together as people are investigating, kind of enjoying that, and love our little new peculiar dapper hair companion. Lepus will be a very valuable member to the team, I'm sure. And let's see here. And then wishes, yeah, just for me, it's like just exploring more character development and roleplay is just all I ever wish for. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. It was fun. I don't know if I'm gonna fall asleep. It was so exciting. All right, so I'll see you all next week.
Cool. Take good care, everyone. And
Have a good one.
bye.
Have a good weekend.
Take care.